You are listening to Ask the Answers podcast. Join me, Adele Gabain, as I uncover the knowledge, inspiration, and empowerment the psychic world has to offer. Let's begin. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Ask the Answers podcast. I'm your host, Adele Gabain, and today on the show, we have one of our very, very experienced psychic that I'm dying to find out all about. She's joining us now. It's the lovely Marla. Hello, Marla.
Hello, Adele. Lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you on the show today. Looking forward to finding out all about you. Even before we press record, there's so much I want to know and so many little things that I saw. I'm like, I need to know more about this lady. First of all, we can hear an accent. Where are you from?
I'm an American. I'm in the United States. I'm originally from New Jersey. So little Joe Pesci, little New York kind. Actually, we're from the same area of New Jersey. So
yeah, nice. And how long have you lived there for?
Well, I'm in North Carolina now. And so I've lived in North Carolina for about 15 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Nice. I lived in South Carolina for a little while back in my sort of teenage years when I was a professional dancer, did theatre shows out there.
Oh, how cool. Yeah, I'm in Asheville.
Oh, lovely.
In the mountains.
Oh, wow. Amazing. So I mentioned there, just before we even pressed live, I was like just saying, it'd be nice to find out all about you and the things that you get up to. And we were talking about, you've started to learn to hula hoop.
Well, I bought a hula hoop and it's very frustrating, but it looks so easy. Even as a kid, I couldn't hula hoop. So yeah. I decided, you know what, I'm going to try and learn. And I've gotten a little bit better. I mean, I can roll it around maybe like 4 or 5 times now.
Yeah, brilliant. I love that. I spotted it in the background. If listeners are tuning in now, I saw it in the background. Went, who does that hula hoop? And Marla was like, that's mine. I've just started to practice and I'm picking it up. So do you like trying new things? Are you one of these people, a bit of an adventurous person?
I am. It's funny because, if I want to like do something, I just kind of do it. So my sister once noticed, she and I both, when we do something, we don't start with something small. So I decided to take up quilting, and I didn't start with like a little pillow or something. I started with a full-size quilt, reversible.
Wow. Go big or go home. I love that.
Yeah. I mean, I know how to sew, but but I do like, it's just I do like new things. I never thought about it that way, but yeah.
Are you quite a creative person?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm a potter, professional level potter, and I love to draw and paint. I'm not that good at those. I'm okay, but I write. Yeah.
Oh, wow. My daughter would love you. She loves all things arts and crafts and making and sewing and baking and pottery. I can't do any of it. I'm a really bad mum. I'm like, I wish my mum was still here to be able to teach her all these things because she loves it.
Oh, well, the thing about art is it's a process and you don't have to be good at it. It's not about being good at it. I mean, I think that's maybe why I'm not afraid to be, try bigger things. It's like, it's about doing the thing.
Yeah.
And it's very... I mean, it really is. It gets you into the zone, very much like doing, tarot work, artwork. It's spiritual. It's all tuned in. And if you get something that looks good at the end, it's great.
Yeah.
And that usually takes some practice.
Yeah. And it's all about enjoying that process, isn't it? And doing something new and absolutely having that quality time. So let's get into the psychic world that you found yourself in, but not just found yourself in. You've been doing this work for donkey's years.
Well, I did it for many, many years, not as work per se, but I just love doing it. And so I just go and read for friends at parties and people I didn't know at parties. It was just great fun.
It's almost like a little party trick.
Well, it was, I know what happened there. I never felt it was like a party. It was just something that I liked to do. And here was people I could do it to.
Yeah.
And it was a novelty back then. I mean, when I first started reading, I would ask, my first question was, have you ever heard of tarot or tarot? And the answer was almost always no.
Mm-hmm.
So they would just kind of come and see what is this about. And I was just, again, it's like I was just doing this thing and not worried about, oh, am I going to be right? Or in fact, I had a book in hand because that's how I learned. I had the book, I had the cards, I had the person, and I would just, let's see what happens. And, it turns out I was pretty good at it. And so people were, I mean, they liked it, but my style is also more is kind of deeper, and even from the beginning was about getting stuff. So it wasn't, I never considered it entertainment, but I don't know, I was just drawn to do it.
Yeah. And was it something that you saw somebody else do? How did it actually you start? How did you get that interest? What was that moment?
Oh yeah, that's actually an interesting. I did, when I was little, I do remember a woman coming to the house and reading regular deck of cards to the adults. And in fact, when I asked if I could get my cards read, she said, no, the stars move too quickly for children.
Okay.
That's a good line. That's a good line. But, and I don't actually like to read for 7-year-olds either. I don't usually. But beyond that, the first time I learned of tarot was I went down into the basement, and when I was 17, so my parents' home, and I found an unopened book package of tarot cards, just the major arcana, and a book. I opened them up. I read the book. I followed the directions, and I gave myself a reading. That was my exposure to tarot.
So was that your mum's or your dad's cards then?
It was, well, you know what? Years later, I asked my mother about it, because I just and I took them when I went away to college. I took them with me, and because I did a reading, and that's another issue. But the years later, I asked my mother, what were those cards doing that down there? And she knew about them, but she said she didn't know how they had gotten there.
Oh.
So my theory is they got dropped in by someone probably gave them to her as a housewarming gift, and she threw it in the basement, and I found them at some point. Is my guess. So yeah. I always that feels kind of special to me. But anyway, so my first reading for myself was the Celtic Cross that was in the book, and it said that I would get money and travel. Mm-hmm. And I was, that's not going to happen. I was from a pretty poor family. And what happened was, a couple months later, I got an acceptance letter to a college in California. I was in New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And so, they had given me a lot of money so I could go there. So I got money, and I traveled to California, and I was like, I'm bringing these cards.
You're staying with me.
Yes. Yeah. They went in the suitcase.
How amazing is that? And, obviously from that moment to going traveling, when did you then pick it up? And you said you were going to, was it just parties or just meeting up with people and just doing it as and when?
All of the above. So I didn't really, and to this day, I rarely read for myself. I just tune in directly. So I don't, how some people throw a card a day or 3 cards a day. I don't do that. I don't think I even did it at the beginning. I mean, we're going back now. But I just friends and I would bring them to parties, not to the big beer bashes or anything like that, but just smaller parties, and just to friends. And then friends found out that I had them, and would come over to my room and we'd do a reading. So.
And at that point, had you had any readings yourself? Is it something you had done?
No. You know what? I never thought, no one has ever asked me that. I never thought about it, but no one had ever given me, I had never gotten a reading. No. I don't even remember when I first got a reading. It was a long time later because I was high school, college. Yeah. And it wasn't a big thing back then. It wasn't a big thing. And it was, I mean, if you're familiar with Bruce Springsteen, there's a song where he refers to Madame Marie's there's a psychic reader down the shore in New Jersey. But, there was a tarot card reader in The Man with not The Man with the Golden, Live or Let Die. And that was like, that was the early 70s, but it wasn't really like today, everyone knows what it is.
Yeah. I don't know if this is the right way of saying it, but do you think back in the day, would they see a psychic almost as a witch?
I don't, you know what? It was one of those things people didn't really talk about. They didn't take seriously. I think like some people now, I mean, I read in a store and people come up to me and, like there's something evil going on in my little corner.
Yeah.
People just didn't really, like I said, when I asked people, have you ever heard of tarot? They hadn't even heard of it.
No.
So I think that people didn't really think much about psychics. I don't think it didn't come up. It wasn't thought about. See, in my home, I was raised where, our family would sit around the table and tell ghost stories, but they were real experiences that had happened to them. So and it was everybody's psychic to me. It's just how much it's like seeing. Everyone has sight, mostly. Some people are really blind, but some people need to wear glasses. Some people can see really, really well. I think that psychic ability is like that. It's a spectrum. And I think that for me, it was so natural, and I never, so I don't really know how other people thought about it. And a lot of people, I read interviews and stuff where, when did you first get exposed to this stuff? And they would say something when they were an adult. And so I'm maybe not the best person to ask, but I don't think people thought about it much. And if they did, it was just weird.
Yeah. So why now? So why do you think now it's more acceptable? Why do you think people are now interested in going to see a psychic?
I think that it's, as people I think the whole getting connected to spirituality and a move away from I'll call it standard religion, for lack of a better term, you know what I mean? And that whatever that connection is to the divine, the greater, people are just experiencing it for themselves on some level, back to that spectrum thing. And it's being talked about in acceptable ways.
Yeah.
And you do go into stores and see that psychic in the corner. And so you do, and I mean, people even to this day will come up to me. They like, oh, what is this? I never heard about it, but not that many. And I just think it's one of those things that has risen to a level of awareness that, and then people have whatever their opinion is about it. And then more people are experiencing it and tell other people about their experiences.
So the more you the more people who are aware, the more they share, the more then people will then get involved, experience it themselves. And it's such a positive thing as well. I mean, obviously there are times when you have to guide people in steering away from maybe a challenging time or obstacles they're facing, but it's always a positive reading where you're trying to either guide them to overcome something, give them maybe an understanding of why these things are happening, why maybe you're experiencing this, what you're going to learn out of it. It's always going to be something positive that you can take away. I even think, when you make mistakes or you have, a bad or traumatic time, there's always something you can take away from that and think, yes, that's either made me a stronger person, it's made me more resilient, it's made me appreciate things more. There's always something you can get from a bad situation, I personally think.
Oh, absolutely. And sometimes you have to get some distance from it. Like when you're right in the middle of we recently had a hurricane, when you're right in it, it's, you can't really process it, but then, sometime there always is. So I'll use the hurricane. I mean, it's terrible what happened here, but people, I mean, the amount of help that came in and the amount of love and camaraderie that came from that. And you know what, now you're better prepared for the next time. So there's, I do agree with that.
But sometimes hard to see when you're going through it at that time, and especially when we're so
Yeah.
emotionally, connected to something. Like you said, if it's someone's home that they've lost or a loved one that they've lost, it's very hard to say, why me? Why has this happened to me? This is not fair, and and really hard to think, oh yeah, let's be positive. It's not. I'm not saying it's easy as that. It takes time to reflect back and see how far they've come.
Yeah. Well, another thing that I noticed here is because I work at a place where I see people come in is you hear stories about people who lost homes, who's the mold and this and terrible things. And to a person, they always say, but you know what? I'm so grateful because other people have it worse.
Yeah.
And to hear someone who lost their home and insurance may or may not cover it, I mean, it's it's affected me, but not like that. And I mean, that's how I feel. I mean, it's affected me, but not that badly. And I'm grateful to not. But the immense loss that people see, they still find a positive spin on it. It's truly heartwarming.
So for someone who, again, might be a little bit skeptic to this, they might hear this conversation and go, well, if you're a psychic, why couldn't you see that coming? Why couldn't you be more prepared? It's quite a common thing for a skeptic to maybe say if they're listening.
Yes. Well, first thing I say is it's good to be skeptical because, I've seen the other side where people think everything that comes out of your mouth is from God. But really, this is what I say. It's not how it works. If it worked that way, all psychics would be rich, play the lottery. It's, just like our hearing, we don't hear every sound. There are sounds that dogs and cats can hear that we don't hear. So you have a certain bandwidth. And the other thing I say to them is, okay, if it's not for you, it's not for you. I don't try to convince anybody. I just don't. And I also, like, when someone tries to push a friend into a reading that they don't want to have, I just say, don't do it.
Yeah.
Why? I don't feel the need for someone to believe. I just don't. And, they have their experience and their beliefs and that's okay. But, it's just not how it works. And if they want to experience how it works, then, that's another story, and be skeptical. And some of those readings are tough, and some of them are delightful because they're like, whoa, how did you know that? I was just talking to my friend about that. It's like, I mean, when you experience it and when you're open to the experience, because if you're completely closed off, and that's why I say, if someone doesn't want to get a reading, don't do it. I don't enjoy those kind of readings, and they won't either. They'll walk away like, eh.
Yeah.
But it's like, okay.
You'll come back when you're ready. And for you, what do you get out of it? Why have you done it for such a long time? Is it over 50 years you've been reading for?
It's actually about exactly 50 years because I started because I got and the only way to know is because when I got my letter of admission was like April 1st in 75. So it was a couple months before that I did the reading, maybe weeks, I'm not sure. So 50 years. Well, I just enjoyed it. It was very cool. Again, I was brought up, this was like normal stuff. I had witnessed that one reading, so this was just a different kind of cards, and I just felt drawn to it, and then I got good results, and so I kept doing it. I think I probably would have stopped if it wasn't, because it's really not fun to do a reading when it doesn't go well,
Yeah.
What I love about it though is there's a connection that's made between you and the person you're reading for.
Yeah.
And I think it's also between you and them, their guides and you, or the divine. I'm not quite sure how all that works.
Yeah.
I have my theories. People have their theories, but there's definitely a real connection that's formed between you and the person. And I'm very sensitive to energy, so it just feels good. And the person, it's so gratifying to see the difference that I can make in someone's life. Again, when it goes really well, and it goes really well a lot,
Yeah.
That keeps me engaged. And, in the earlier days, I wasn't, I didn't have the depth of experience. I mean, it does make a difference. But it was just, I think it was still the same thing. It's a connection, their engagement, being interested in it. And then, when someone's not paying money and thinking, oh, I need to know, that pressure, it really is a lot easier. I mean, I can't remember when I had my first tough reading, but it wasn't during that time of just doing it for friends and friends of friends. But it's really that connection, I think. And I also think that as you read, it's a practice.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? So you're learning and I always thought that the reading that I do for the other, and less so now because there's so many, I've done thousands at this point, but whenever I read for someone, it's like a message in there for myself as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so, again, I think it comes back to that connection, that three-way connection, if you will.
Yeah. Lovely. Can you know what's your longest client or customer, or maybe you might even call them your friend? What's the longest person that's stuck with you having readings?
I would say a few years. I mean, I'm not very good at marketing. So, again, the reading at the store, it's people just kind of coming by, and they'll come back maybe once a year for a few years, and then they've moved on or I've moved on.
Yeah.
So I can't say I've got somebody who's been with me for
50 years.
and I haven't been doing it I didn't start doing it professionally till that has probably been around 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe less. Because I was a software developer. I was doing other things.
Yeah.
This was was always a side thing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And even now I'm a coach, so it's always been a side thing. And I mean, my friends still ask me for readings, and that's actually when you've gotten good, when you don't have to be saying, hey, you want a reading. They're coming to you and saying, ask, could you do a reading for me? So, I mean, I've got that, but I don't have a big client base that I've built up. I probably should do that.
How would you describe yourself as a reader? Is there any sort of specialities that you have? There's so many readers out there, but what makes maybe you unique?
Yeah, I think that readers fall generally into two categories. One is somebody's going to sit there and tell you this is going to happen to you, this is going to happen, this is going to happen to you. That's not what I do. I do more. The best readings are conversational, mm-hmm. where the person's open up. I bring my coaching skills in, and my aim is always to empower. And there's lots of reasons why I don't like I think predictions are bad. It may sound funny coming from a reader. And that's a little overstating it. I mean, I will give predictions and say, I think this is happening, but this is the energy that's coming your way, but you have free will, energy changes. So, I like to couch it, and nobody's 100%. I don't care how
people get too fixated on it then, and they might miss other things.
Well, I do. So for instance, I had I could probably talk an hour about why I think they're bad, but I had a teacher who said, her kids would come to her and say, am I going to pass the test tomorrow? And she wouldn't answer them. If she told them they were going to pass the test, they wouldn't study. Mm-hmm. If she told them they were going to not pass the test, why would they study? Yeah. So the purpose of a test is to study. So when you give a prediction, even if it's right, you're affecting someone's what they're going to do, mm-hmm. and what they're going to expect. And it could lead to disappointment if you're wrong. And it could lead to bad decisions. I mean, if someone's asking if their boyfriend is cheating on them or their husband, I will never answer that question. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because if they're not cheating and I say they're not great, mm-hmm. If I say they are cheating when they're not, I mean, that's not good. Yeah. If they were cheating and I said they're not, you might feel better, but they're still cheating. And if they are cheating, and I say they're cheating, what are you going to do? Say go to your boy, a psychic told me you were cheating. It's not going to go well.
Yeah.
It's just not, no matter what. And what's really happening is there's trust issues in that relationship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, even if I said they're not cheating and you're like, okay, you might feel better for 10 minutes, but it's still going to be on your mind. So the real issue there is a matter of trust. So let's go into that and see what's going on and how you can resolve that, because that's really what you want.
Yeah.
And if it's not what you really want, I'm probably not the right reader for you. But that's that's what's going to empower you to have a better relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. So when you say you're a coach, what's the coaching side?
Well, the coaching side would be, so now I would know I have the coaching skills to help me combine with the psychic to get behind the what's going on with those trust issues, for instance. So then I could go deeper with the person. I mean, it doesn't happen a lot, but it happens. It's not rare either that someone will, in a 15-minute reading say, oh, you've done more than I've had in my therapy for a year and a half.
Imagine that,
because once you combine it with the psychics, the information that's coming. So for instance, I can tap into that boyfriend and just feel his energy and feel like, just feel how he's feeling. Now, again, that could be wrong. I mean, I'm pretty good at it, but nobody's 100% again. But you could combine that with what's going on with the person that's sitting in front of me. And then combine that with the coaching knowledge. It's a very powerful combination. And I'm a really good coach too, so that helps.
Yeah. And I know that I've had readings before, and I just what you said there, I feel sometimes they know me better than I know myself. It's like, how do you know that about me? How do you know that I act in that particular way? And it's, that makes a lovely connection when they do really get you and they understand you and what you've been through. But also I think as you having that reading, more knowledge is power. The more you know about things and understand about things, rather than just seeing it from your perspective, but seeing it from other perspectives, it can give you a much bigger picture of what's going on in your life.
Yeah. And you actually, you bring up a good point. Some readings are about validation. So you may be thinking about something and, you don't, doesn't, and I'll say it and they're like, oh yeah, it's a validation. It's really nice to be seen.
Yeah.
And to be heard and to be understood. And, I'm on that side of the spectrum where it's about, and that's empowering.
100%. So for you, has there been any point in this journey that you thought, I want to chuck the towel in, I don't want to do this anymore? And if so, why?
Well, I don't know. I mean, the short answer is no. And I mean, I'm going like, why would I ever do that? So there's, again, for me, it's separate, like for the professional versus I would always do it. I mean, I did it for 25, 30 years, whatever. And it's not like I do it every day and I'm out reading, but I don't do that now either. But I don't know. It just feels, I just love doing it. Yeah. And I've loved doing it for 50 years. So I don't see that changing. But no, never in the past. I mean, I might not do it for a while.
Yeah.
But
never know. Experience new things. You said you were creative at the beginning of our podcast. Have you ever thought about writing any books or doing things in that direction?
Oh, I'm writing a book right now, actually. I'm writing a book about, it combines the coaching and tarot. It's have you heard of the tarot, the Fool's Journey?
Yes.
That's the structure that I use. It's the Fool's Journey, and the Fool has a problem with the King of Coins, or Pentacles, coins. I use the Marseille deck, and he goes on his journey and is talking to all the other major arcana. So I'm about halfway through.
Ah, that's good. Nice. Oh, I look forward to hearing when they're out. And, hopefully for our listeners, be able to purchase the book as well and get that around the country. For you, do you do anything like the mediumship side of things? Is that an area that you go into, or do you stay clear from that?
I I you know, I didn't have a very good relationship with my parents, and so I didn't. I don't. And when they passed, I'm like, the last thing I don't want to hear from them. Sometimes people show up in the readings. I am not a trained medium, and I wouldn't say I'm very good at it. I don't like to bring it up because people do come to me and ask me to contact someone, and sometimes I do, sometimes I don't. But because I can't do it reliably.
Mm-hmm.
But people come through sometimes. And so yeah, I don't, and now I'm more comfortable with doing it, but I don't have, I don't have enough practice at it, but so I don't advertise it. So that's,
if it comes
that's
through,
why I'm like, but yeah, sometimes people come through, definitely. And, it's real when it does, it really is a comfort to the other person. So at this point, I'm thinking it really is, that is quite a service to do for someone that's really beautiful.
Absolutely.
So absolutely. I would like to get more into it. Yeah.
So what is a day in the life of a psychic? You know, what do you have any rituals, anything you have to do when you wake up in the morning?
You know, I do not. I do have my little, you know, rocks all over the place. I love rocks. I do I do touch in the morning. I wouldn't call, I don't even know what I would call it, but I do to see how I'm feeling and to call in healing, whatever I might need, and try to set up the day and, you know, visualize that kind of thing. But, you know, I did go through a phase where like, all right, I lit a white candle when I was doing readings, and it didn't seem to matter. I mean, again, the way I started, I mean, I was taking my cards to parties, and, you know, people are doing all sorts of things around. So the advantage is I can read anywhere. It does. I can coffee shop, a noisy atmosphere. It doesn't matter. It just, I go right in. But then I tried it, but I saw other people doing it. And I'm like, boy, they're getting such cool results, and it didn't seem to matter for me. Yeah. So I didn't. I'm like, oh, I mean, I've got the candles, I've got the crystals. You know,
no real
thrills. I've got I forget what it's called at the time. The, you know, the little Buddhist hanging, but
just some nice visuals.
Yeah. I like to be in it and create that energy. But I don't do it really as consciously as some other people do.
Yeah.
And yeah.
No frills, just straight to the point. Very natural. Just get on with it.
Yeah.
Get the job done.
It works.
So have you had like clients and customers from all around the world? I suppose in that, you know, nowadays where you can, you know, do email readings and phone readings, I'm sure there are people from all around the world you speak to.
Well, again, I don't do this full time. So, but yeah, I mean, they are from around the world. But again, I don't usually ask people where they're from or think about it much.
Yeah.
But the reach with the telephone is quite big. I remember the first time I thought about doing, and I haven't done email readings. I like the more or the chat. I just haven't tried it. But
you like the voice.
But I remember the first time I did phone readings back, I don't know, 20 some odd years ago. I didn't think I could do it either, and I thought, I'll try it. And it works fine. In some ways it works better because if you can't see the person, there's no facial, like, you know, I don't know about this. Or they don't throw you those clues. I mean, I know some people who are, you know, maybe, you know, the cold readers, I think they call them, where they're not really doing it psychically. they look for that. But for me, it can be distracting. In fact, someone told me once when I'm doing readings, I'm like looking all around. I'm not looking at the person. And ever since then, I've been self-conscious about it. So the phone readings have been really, really good. I think you can never do a side by side, but so effective. But most of my readings have been face to face, more local.
So when you're doing readings, do you get more visual? Do you have like somebody speaking in your ear? How does the information come through to you?
I get it in all ways. I'm very visual. So sometimes I'll see something, but it's like, in a dream, it's when you're dreaming, it's that kind of thing. Or I might see a boat or something. I'll hear actual words.
Mm-hmm.
I get physical feelings. If there's a communication problem going on, my throat, for some reason, my throat is the place where I get most of the, for communication. I don't get, the other thing is when someone does come in, I feel that physically. I feel it in my arms, in my back, in different parts of my body. That's how I know someone's come in, because it's very visceral.
Wow.
That was my first clue. I was reading for someone, all of a sudden I just got these feelings I'm like, well, I didn't know what was going on. Like, it was really kind of creepy, and it was very strong. And then I figured it out, and she was kind enough to work with me on it. Like, what is going on with this chick, But so I get the physical, and you just something, you just kind of know it like a thought. And so I get it from all different channels.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it's because if I'm sitting with someone who's visual, I'll get more visual. If I get something, like if I get a lot of audio, my primary is probably just visual and just kind of knowing. But I also pick up on their energy. And so if I start like getting really fidgety, which, I mean, sometimes I'm fidgety, but because I'm nervous but usually I'm not a very fidgety person. And I'm like, are you fidgety? Are you distracted? And almost always say yes. So I kind of pick up on their energy. So
what's the best way that someone can get out? How can they get the best out of their readings? If someone...
I think the best way people get out of the best is if they're engaged. So I might get something, for instance, God, I'm blanking right now on an example where something that's a little bit, all right, well, you're just, so this feeling that you're feeling distracted by something, but I don't know what that distraction is. So if the person can say, yeah, I'm distracted by well, then together I can get very specific about and go into what that distraction is.
Yeah, you can home in.
And exactly. And that can be really, really helpful. And so really the signal that I'm getting is help them with their distraction.
Yeah.
But not help them with their distraction about. And if they don't want to talk about what their distraction is, if they just want to like see me, perform and get really accurate without their engagement, well, they're not going to get as good of a reading.
Right.
Because they know they're distracted. Well, not always. Sometimes they have to be like, oh, you know what, I am. And they didn't even realize it. So sometimes that's information to them, but they probably know they're distracted. But if they want real help with it, then they need to be engaged. And then we can really, and then in like 15 minutes, you go boom into the thing.
Yeah, nice. So what's next for you? Where's this taking you? Are you going to do pretty much the same, just keep going and going? Is there anything else you want to do that you haven't done yet?
Well, I want to, I'm, working on, the coaching is, coaching programs and the book. I hope the book, the book should be out by the end of the year. I'm about halfway through it, and it's been a lot of work. And then see where that takes me. But I'm primarily focused on the coaching aspect. I mean, because the readings, I mean, you do readings, you learn by doing them. And but I'm not, going to be taking it on the road, or I don't know like where I would go with that beyond just doing more readings.
Yeah.
And writing the book. So I think that will be really it will do more exposure to people because it will bring the archetypes, the characters to life a little bit, and give a lot of coaching insights. So I don't know. It's by doing something, it takes you in new directions.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know where that's going to be. And here's where I don't do the prediction thing because I don't know where this is going to go. And this is really a good example. This is about process. The art is it's a process, and you get something at the end, and then you see what happens. And that's there's magic there, but the magic is in the process. So I'm just going to keep on doing it.
I mean, who knows? You might be on America's Got Talent doing a hula hoop dance. You never know.
I'm like the fool. I'm on this journey, and meeting with the major arcana and seeing what they have to say to me. Perpetual journey. But yeah, you never know. I mean, I don't see getting on America's Got Talent, but you never know.
You never know. Watch this space. Well, Marla, it's been wonderful speaking to you today. Really, really nice to get to know you and your experiences in the psychic world. If somebody wants to come through to you, do you know your PIN number off by heart? If not, I do have it.
I do not. Is it 700? 545?
Oh, nearly 700 556.
Oh, 556.
So if you want to come through and have a chat with you on RC Answers phone lines, that's where they'll be able to find you. But it's been a pleasure speaking to you today. Thank you so much for your time, and good luck with the book. We look forward to seeing that out later in the year.
Yeah, thank you so much, Adele. It really has been a pleasure for me as well.
Brilliant. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much, Marla.
Thank you. You too.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Ask the Answers podcast. Don't forget to follow, subscribe, and save to your library. Remember, there are 100 psychic readers available on our website for readings 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. To triple your credits on your first purchase, visit asktheanswer.com and click on the new customer offer banner.